Happy Friday, everyone. Today on Movie Talk, we are talking about the status of Aquaman 2. And on top of that, Melissa McCarthy is in early talks to join the live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid in pitch-perfect casting. She might be playing Ursula. I can't wait to get into that one. I am so excited about that news today, and I get to talk about it with two awesome people from the Movie Phone team. We have Grae Drake and Matt Atchity here on this wonderful Friday.
Woo!
How is life? How is Grae Bell, more importantly?
Grae Bell is amazing. She's just torturing souls everywhere.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't bring her today.
That's actually a great point. She's going to be mad too.
Grae's now afraid to go home. Yeah.
My husband definitely
We were
is.
talking about Grae's own version of Annabelle, which did her interviews on the Ms. Movie Phone show this week.
Smooth sailing for me this week. I let a doll do my job.
A plug that you guys should take to heart. Go check that out. But right now we have some stories to talk about. Specifically, this first one here is while James Wan was speaking with Cinema Blend, he wouldn't confirm whether or not he's directing the next Aquaman movie, but he did say something about his next project as a director. Here's what he told him. I think I kind of know what I want to direct next. It won't be Aquaman 2 just yet. I have something else I'm cooking up. I'm not ready to share just yet. So before we get into the details about what he could be directing when we might see Aquaman 2, first off, do you guys think he's even going to wind up directing this movie at all, or could he wind up passing the reins to somebody else?
I think he usually passes the reins. I mean, his series, they generally kind of go that way. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd just be super disappointed because I loved Aquaman so much. Somebody just pointed out on Twitter recently, have we talked about how hard he goes at the end of Aquaman? Last 25 minutes, you're like...
I'm always rooting for James Wan to direct anything. So
100%.
if I ever heard he was stepping away from that, I would be bummed. But also, he is one of those people in the industry right now who is fostering so much stellar up-and-coming talent that if he decided to step away and said, I name you my successor, I would have a lot of faith in him.
You know, you got to start considering what's going on behind the scenes at Warner Brothers these days, right? There's a new CEO that's come in. There's a lot of negotiations going on with J.J. Abrams to come in and oversee a lot of production. And you have to figure that the DC Expanded Universe is going to get a big shakeup, right? It wasn't as successful as everybody had hoped for under Kevin Tsujihara, the outgoing CEO at Warner Brothers. And so Aquaman is one of the bright points, one of the real high points of that whole effort.
Yeah.
And so you got to figure, on one hand, the powers that be, you would want to bring James Wan back and dangle as much money as you can to make sure that he does it. But by the same token, you also have to wonder, and this is what I think, how much is what he would want to do in line with whatever vision Abrams and the new CEO have for that franchise, right? And not just Aquaman, but that's where it all plays in. It's kind of the similar, it's almost like thinking, okay, are you going to get a similar, somebody to do a second film? Like, could you get Taika Waititi to come back and do another Thor movie? If Kevin Feige doesn't want him to come back, it kind of doesn't matter if Waititi really wants to, right? So
you have to start, everybody has a boss.
Right. I mean, so you have to start thinking, this is the less fun version of that, but it's what are the internal politics going on at the studio that are going to make that happen? I, for one, would love to see him come back. I think he's a terrific director, but, I like kind of watching whatever Wan does, and I'm really intrigued to see what he's going to do.
Oh God, I hope it's something. I hope it's something scary.
I hope it's something smaller and also scary. But also, I misspoke before. This movie does have a release date, December 16th, 2022. So
I was going to say, yeah.
Is it reasonable even for him to direct Aquaman to hit that planned release date? And it's not to say they can't push it if need be, but is it possible for him to do both things?
Not unless he goes super indie and somehow manages to shoot something like it's one of his early day films in 5 weeks.
Again, looking at the business side of it, you have to see what's Momoa's schedule like, right? Because part of
it's another part of it,
right?
yeah.
When you think about these group movies, I mean, this is why it's going to be so hard to make an Avengers happen again, right? Because you have to get everybody clear at the same time, and you're talking about 10 or 20 different careers. So,
well, listen, the drumming octopus is free.
Right.
Okay, so
good.
He's good whenever.
But I think, he definitely could. There was the news last month that production is just about to start on Mortal Kombat, which he's producing, and at one point had said he was thinking about directing. I suspect, based on his last couple movies were big productions, right? Fast and Furious 7, this. And you almost wonder, like, is he going to go back to basics and like give us another kind of lo-fi horror movie?
Please.
Which would, right?
Be so awesome.
Kind of what a lot of other, like Soderbergh does this, right? One for them, one for me. And that'd be great. I'd love to see Wan get, team back up with Leigh Whannell, do something for them that kind of that kickstarts, reinvigorates his creative juices.
Yeah,
and then
shoot it on an iPhone too.
Exactly.
Like Soderbergh does.
Hey, I mean, it worked for him pretty well.
Yeah.
Unsane was so underseen. It made me very upset.
It was I thought it was a really good movie.
I thought it was great, and I thought Claire Foy was great in it. And when you think about it, if he goes that route and does another, low budget horror movie with Leigh Whannell, and it takes off, that would be 4 major franchises for James Wan. You have Saw, Insidious, The Conjuring, and to have another one,
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about really for like the rest of your life
Right.
solidifying your value to this industry.
Well, that he started, right? I mean, you could also arguably put Aquaman in that category, right? Like
That's a
'cause
very
even if he
fair
steps back,
point.
he could get creative credit, as a producer on the next couple of those.
Well, he was also just such a significant force in kind of reinvigorating the DC film franchise. So I kind of give him that credit for that, too.
God, I loved Aquaman so much, and just seeing stills from it recently reminded me I have to rewatch it. Would love to see him back for the second one.
All right, I'm going to flip it around for you really quickly, though. Now that you said that, I have to ask, because Camille H. in the chat is asking, if James Wan didn't direct Aquaman 2, who'd be a good director instead?
Well, let's see. James Cameron's busy. Just kidding. I wish that, like, the thing is that I always refrain from answering these questions because I love things like Marvel's director announcements.
Yes.
Because almost every time they make me go, what? Like the Russo brothers, like the guys that made Community, an excellent show, but what? And then they always end up right. And I'm like, I don't know, because the way that, the other guys find talent is pretty wild. So hopefully DC would do something crazy.
All right, I have a crazy idea based on the movie you and I saw last night and what you and I were talking about.
No way, you're not going to say it.
Here's what I'm going to say. So people that have done smaller movies and you give them a big movie, and knowing that there's an idea about the Trench movie that is supposed to be scary, give it to Ari Aster, director of Hereditary and the opening next week, Midsummer. That would be bonkers. It would show you the ocean. The depths of the ocean are terrifying. That would be amazing.
Hereditary and Midsummer are so different in so many ways, from a story perspective, a style perspective. I walked away from Midsummer saying Ari Aster is a naturally gifted filmmaker. He could do just about anything, but I watched those 2 movies and I'm like, that guy's mind only goes down dark paths. I mean, like really deeply sinister, disturbing paths.
Well, but again, like go to the Trench then, right?
guess
Like there's all those rumors about, is a Trench movie going to happen? That's a Aquaman spinoff that deals with whatever horror is down at the bottom of the ocean trench. He could totally do that, right?
If that was the announcement, I would get such a kick out of it, and I would be so excited to cover it on the show.
Totally.
Or put Aquaman up against some Lovecraftian horror that's come up from the depths of the ocean. That would be amazing.
I would pass out.
I mean, it's actually not that bad of an idea, too, when you consider the fact that with all the DC films, like even when you think about, what they've done with Shazam and Aquaman, but what they're doing with Joker, maybe there is, it sounds to me like that kind of idea would need to be a middle ground between the mega budget and something a little lower for cost like Joker.
Well, I'll go back to Waititi. Like, who would have thought he would have carried a Thor movie? Right? I mean, you look at the movies he directed prior to that, and you think, okay, I'm not sure about him, and then it turns out to be the best one in that series.
Well, sure, because Hunt for the Wilder People is like phenomenal,
right?
And
What We Do in the Shadows is awesome.
All of them, but you're right. I never would have thought oh, sure, a Thor movie.
Right.
So
I want to see somebody who's got a different take, right? Like, sure, there's great, kind of journeyman filmmakers who can come in and do what the studio wants. But I think you get the best success when you give someone who, just enough room to work their vision in. And I'd be fascinated to see somebody like Ari Aster do that.
Well, and I'm excited that this is a conversation that we could even have about a DC movie. I love that they've started to widen that pool of talent.
Same here.
It's fantastic. And that's why the movies are so satisfying.
These kinds of conversations are so exciting too, because even though we don't necessarily have an answer right now that we can get hyped for, there's so many possibilities on the table creatively, the filmmakers you could bring in, and that is very exciting for the future of the DC film franchise. Right now, though, you have some very exciting things coming your way in the Collider video future this weekend, actually, like Collider Mailbag. Check out the promo.
Hey everyone, John Roca here, the host of Collider Mailbag. A new episode drops every Saturday and Sunday in your face and in your ears, answering the questions from you fans about the world of entertainment, film, and television. Me and great guests from our sphere do the best to answer your questions from Twitter, from Instagram, and of course, email as well, every Saturday and Sunday.
In addition to Collider Mailbag, I urge you to check out a very special Spider-Man Far From Home video that we did. Steve Weintraub got to interview Zendaya, Tom Holland, and Jacob Batalon. Wait for it. With puppies. You need to see this video. It's so much fun to watch. Check it out on the main channel right after this edition of Movie Talk. Now, though, it's time for story number 2. So, as reported by Variety today, Melissa McCarthy is in early talks to play Ursula in the live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid. Disney and the production team behind it are reportedly looking to make contemporary and compelling casting choices while still paying homage to the beloved animated original. Rob Marshall is directing this one. So you guys hear this news today. Do you think that, 1, this is a good choice for Melissa McCarthy's career and where it's at right now? And 2, do you think it's a good choice for the Little Mermaid movie?
I think it's a safe choice on both hands. I think Melissa McCarthy's a terrific actor. I'd love to see her doing more things like Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Sure.
I think this one's a layup for her, right? This is something that she'll do a great job. I don't think it really pushes her too hard. I think it doesn't ask much from the role. I think it's right in her wheelhouse. I think it's a relatively safe casting call for the movie to make. When I hear things like contemporary casting, I wonder what that might be code for, right?
Exactly.
Like, without trying to get real political, you have to wonder, like, how does a story like The Little Mermaid, where you've got your female lead character unable to speak, how's that going to play in this? Maybe I'm overthinking it. Just saying.
I mean, as long as we have to live with these remakes, which I know that we're getting 3 this year, and we're going to continue to get 1 million. Every time Disney releases information about like a new original idea coming out, I'm like, yes, amazing.
It doesn't seem like there's that many of them.
There are not at all, which is why it's like a unicorn all of a sudden when they announce it.
Like, I don't think off the top of my head right now I can think of a single one, which is fairly upsetting.
That's the only animated ones are sort of like the Pete Docter
so,
one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I would love to see play Ursula. This is me. Here's my second crazy idea. From the guy from...
Tim Gunn.
No, not Tim Gunn, but you're on the right track. From Kimmy Schmidt, Titus.
Oh, God. Yes.
Right? Like, that'd be amazing.
Wow.
Because we know he can sing.
Titus Burgess, yeah.
Titus Burgess is Ursula.
That would have been a cool decision that really kind
That'd
of,
be
flipped
bonkers.
Expectations
Right.
on their head. I mean, I pretty much
wow.
echo what you just said. This seems so obvious to me, but the fact that it seems obvious also makes it seem kind of perfect in a way. I mean, the pairing of her with that role, and the only thing that makes it stand out to me a little bit with her body of work is I feel like she hasn't done all that much that is, 4-quadrant family friendly. Her humor always has a little bit of an edge to it, where I feel like most of them are R-rated.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody puts on a wig and does a funny accent better than she does. And when she's actually in like a solid film, because I mean, say what you will about the comedies, I watch them every time they're on cable, to varying degrees of hilarity. But when she's in a movie like Spy, she's so fantastic. And so if the script was good, this would be amazing because she's a great, great, great choice. But that's what I thought before you said Titus Burgess.
Yeah, I mean,
that's incredible.
Right. You think with especially the fun that music is, that is such a camp character that you kind of want someone who's going to really knock it out of the park. And not that she can't, but you kind of want to, like, I'd love to see Titus Burgess in it.
No, and now I'm actually
Right.
like kind of disappointed she's playing
I was going to say, now I can't unsee that. Continuing with the fan casting here, if you had to cast Ariel right now, who would it be?
Oh my God.
Grey Drake.
Or Grae Bell. She also works.
I would watch that. I feel like it makes so much sense because I've reminded you of this. The first time I ever met you, you were Tinkerbell. So I feel like this role is just a step away.
I love a good Disney princess, and I also am really good at just doing this. Right? And then like hanging out with hot guys. That's like my thing, basically.
You were meant for the role.
Although I have every confidence that if Ursula came to Grae and said, okay, so the deal is you're going to lose your voice, she'd be like, no, sorry.
I'd be like, bitch, please.
I'm out. I'm right now on the Zendaya train. Like, I'll just cast her in everything.
In everything.
I mean, really, in everything, though. She is so good in Far From... Like, she is next level in Far From Home, where that role easily could have been what we see all the time when it comes to, the love interest in a superhero movie. But she adds such, like, individuality to MJ that I wasn't really expecting. So she charms me in everything she's in.
Yeah,
She's so
Zendaya
natural.
she does a good job balancing, like, she seems put together and she seems confident, and then she'll show you a vulnerability and an awkwardness, and it never feels forced.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like she lets you see behind the curtain a little bit, especially in Far From Home.
Yeah.
And I think that would serve the Ariel role really well.
I do wonder if they're going to go the Mina Masood route, where they find someone that isn't as well known and cast that person in the role.
I always prefer that because I think with a vehicle like a Disney, live action remake, that's a huge jumping off point for an actor. And I love any chance to get some new talent to talk about. Because I was thinking, like, what about that Victoria Justice gal that she's on a whole bunch of like kind of Disney shows, and she was in Matt's favorite movie, Fun Size. And I'm not convinced that
Don't get me started on that. It's a whole other rant.
It's such a weird movie to hate as much as he does.
Wait, what remind me what that movie is quickly?
There's no reason you should remember
Wasn't
what
from,
it is.
from like forever ago?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's just about kids that like are hanging out with their babysitter on Halloween.
hijinks on Halloween. Yeah, something
it's
like that.
Like the little kid goes wandering out by himself and gets in some strange dude's car. And it's all just fun and games. And it's
It's so stupid that
Bad
you hate
messaging.
that movie. But she's a compelling young actress. Or
tune in next week when we rip apart Fun Size.
Speaking of which, what about all those shows like Alana Condor?
Ooh.
That'd be pretty cool.
I can definitely get behind that choice.
Right? She's so delightful. So I think maybe we'll bring some talent over from like Netflix or TV that we haven't seen that often. That'd be
I
great.
wouldn't mind that. I do think one way or the other, though, the way I look at these big franchises, especially what Disney has right now with their domination in every single sector, it is on their shoulders to always use those proven entities to introduce some new talent and new
Yes.
creativity. If it's always just, the big names in all these movies, that's going to get under my skin. But if they do something like what they did with Aladdin and introduce the world to Amina Masood, I applaud you. Keep at it as long as the quality stays at a certain level or above.
Right. Absolutely.
Pressure is on. All right, guys, it is time to hear from you now. We are jumping into the live chat. We have a question here from Langley M. Neely, who's asking, Gaga as Rocket's girlfriend. I'm down for that. So did you guys see this rumor that's floating around today?
Oh my God.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it comes from Hollywood Life. And again, branding this as a big rumor. We don't know if this is official or anything like that. It's not proven from their reps or the studio. So let's just have a little fun with this for now. But they are saying that Lady Gaga could be in Guardians 3 playing another animated character who winds up having a romantic relationship with Rocket.
Wow.
That'd be awesome. And from a production standpoint, that's an easy ask, right? Because you don't need her on set. You don't have to schedule the time. Like, hey, can you come by the VO booth? Right? We need a couple days in the VO booth. No, I mean, not like she's never in a recording studio, right? That's a real easy ask from her.
She's approximately 5'2", so you could get like any nicely sized child to do the mocap for her character as well. So that's fine.
It actually does make a lot of sense to have that for Rocket's story too. I feel like at this point in his growth, he is ready to have that kind of thing added to his life. And I feel like he might need it too.
He was it's really bizarre when you look back at the decision to make Guardians and you're thinking like, really? Like there's a raccoon in this in a tree? And how deeply emotional that was. You're like, oh my God, a raccoon made me feel something other than fury when it was digging through my actual garbage.
And, back to my earlier point about the earlier story, you guys call me crazy when I say Ari Aster, but if you'd have said like, oh, James Gunn is going to do one of the most emotionally moving films in the MCU, knowing what we knew about him before going into that film, nobody would have believed it, right? But
it's a
Gaga
fair point.
as Rocket girlfriend, that'd be awesome.
I know. I would be in. I wouldn't mind if this rumor turned out to be true.
Because
and
they're
Michelle
really
Rodriguez as the female Groot.
whoa.
I just made that
Because
up. I just made
it's
that
all
up.
about family.
That's a bad idea too.
Yeah, I mean, hey, well, let's just say stuff
Exactly.
now.
Groot's girlfriend.
I love it. I think it would be great because obviously Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga are really in love. Obviously.
Yeah,
According to HollywoodLife.biz or whatever it is.
All right, let's grab one more question from the chat before winding this down. This one comes from Jonathan Caro, and I had to pick this because I'm obsessed with this movie. Or with Disney live action or adaptations, remakes, whatnot. Or is there a sports inspiration film that Disney could tell, like, for example, like a Cool Runnings film? So I think he's asking, could they do a new version of Cool Runnings?
I want to see him redo
wow.
Gus. Remember Gus about the donkey that was kicking
Gus?
field goals?
I've never seen that, but now I need to.
And if I remember correctly, I think Don Knotts is in it.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it's like back when Disney was doing these TV movies weekly.
What
and that
is
was
knocking around in your brain today, Matt? You were in rare form. I
Exactly.
love it.
I haven't been drinking yet. Some of those old sports movies could be really fun to redo. Cool Runnings,
There's
That would be
certain elements that maybe we shouldn't really do today, but
Right. They already remade Flubber. That's not exactly a sports movie, though. It just has to do with... There's a basketball scene.
yeah, I mean, there's all those, crazy live action movies that some of it, I mean, The Rock was in Witch Mountain that they redid.
Witch Mountain?
They redid Flubber. Like, you kind of want to see, like, could you do one for the Shaggy Dog and then the Shaggy DA?
Yeah, that's
right?
the thing, is that Disney needs to remake their lesser films and make them awesome.
Right, like Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon's a great example. The original
totally.
Pete's Dragon, not so good. But the remake is
so
terrific.
good.
Yeah.
And like Sword in the Stone, it's sort of it's King Arthur Excalibur, but I mean, they could make it interesting.
I did just watch The Kid Who Would Be King, and that was way more delightful than I was expecting.
Yeah,
that's a solid movie.
Yeah.
They need to start
Speaking
digging.
of which, give one of these projects to Joe Cornish, too. He should be directing more.
Totally.
Yeah, I'd love for them to remake The Black Hole. That's
God.
That's the late 70s knockoff that Disney did of Star Wars. It's got this great John Barry score. John Barry, the guy who composed the James Bond music.
Yeah.
It's probably the best thing. Robert Forster's in it. Roddy McDowell does the voice of the R2D2 knockoff Vincent. Maximilian Schell is in it.
That's incredible.
Right?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, not a great. Oh yeah, and what was it? Slim Pickens, right? Is the voice of the other robot.
Jeez, you're right.
That's
Wow.
a goofy movie.
See,
but
this is the path that Disney should be going down.
100%.
Not necessarily making a live action version of Nightmare Before Christmas. Don't do that. If that's true, just put it in the trash, please. I would watch a live action Gus remake versus that. And I've never even seen that movie. It just sounds fascinating, and I'm probably going to watch it
watch
now.
it, and then you'll be like,
I will.
Why would you remember?
I'm
that?
going to watch it and report back to you one
God.
way or the other. That is a wrap on a whole week's worth of movie talk. Thank you both so much for being here. Do tell our viewers where they could find you on the internet. Grae first.
Please watch the Ms. Movie Phone Show. You can find it on the Movie Phone Facebook and our Twitter, all over the place. And help me keep my job, because this guy is like a slave driver.
I'm the worst. You can find me on Twitter at Atchity. You can see me order Grae around at Movie Phone, and then you can see me with Alonzo Duralde, my sometimes schmodown companion, on Breakfast All Day. which is our podcast.
Check it all out, guys. Another thank you to Cody in the booth for your help today, Dorian in the live chat, and to all of you out there for watching the show and hopefully like and sharing this episode, telling everybody you know about Collider Movie Talk. Hope you all have a great weekend. See you Monday, 3 p.m. PT Live for a new episode.